What if there was a really powerful market pattern hiding in plain sight? One that traders see literally every single day, but often misunderstand. Today, we're going to unlock the secrets of pullbacks using Alwin Ng's guide as our map to help you see the charts in a completely new way.
This quote from Alwin Ng just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures what we're doing today. We're not searching for some complicated brand new indicator. Nope. We're just learning to see the market's natural rhythm with fresh eyes, focusing on a pattern that is right there on almost every single price chart.
All right, let's start by pushing back on a really common belief. A lot of people look at the financial markets and just see pure chaos, right? Just a bunch of noise. But what if that's just what it looks like on the surface? What if there's a hidden rhythm beating underneath it all?
Yeah, so what if underneath all that randomness that you think you see, there's a fundamental rhythm, a kind of predictable pulse that's always driving the market forward, no matter what it seems to be doing? That's the big idea we're going to unpack today.
Think about it. Even in a really clear downtrend, the price never just falls in a straight line. It can't. It always zigzags. And that's because there's this constant battle going on. Sellers are pushing the price down, then buyers see a potential bargain and push it back up, and then the sellers wrestle back control. It's this beautiful, rhythmic dance between two opposing forces.
And guess what? We see the exact same thing when a market is reversing. As that momentum starts to shift from buyers over to sellers, you don't just see a sudden cliff dive. You see that same zigzagging motion as the old trend is fighting to stay alive and the new one is trying to be born. So what about a ranging market, when things are just going sideways? Well, the same principle holds true. Even when there's no big overall trend, the market still cycles from the bottom of its range to the top and then back down again, always moving in this kind of wave-like pattern. So here it is, the key takeaway from all this. This constant up and down, zigzag movement, that is the market's natural state. The source material has a great name for it: price cyclicality. And really getting a feel for this fundamental rhythm is the very first step to mastering pullbacks.
Okay, so if the market is constantly moving in these cycles, these zigzags, what do we actually call that temporary little move against the main trend? Well, it's got a very specific and a very important name.
It's called a pullback. Simple as that. It's that brief moment where the price kind of takes a breath, moves against the dominant direction for a little bit before getting back on its original path. Now, you might hear people call it a retracement or a correction, but it's all the same idea.
Let's break this down into a really simple three-step move. The first leg, which we'll call AB, that's the main trend. The second leg, BC, is that temporary move against the trend. And that, right there, is our pullback. And then the final leg, CD, is when the mean trend kicks back in. Our whole focus is on that crucial BC leg.
All right, now we know what a pullback is, so let's look at its different personalities, I guess you could say. The source material points out 4 simple, really recognizable patterns, and each one tells you a little story about what the market is thinking.
First up, we've got the deep pullback. And just like the name says, it travels a pretty long way back against the main trend. So what does that tell us? It tells us the folks on the other side of the trade have some strength. They're testing the waters. But ultimately, they don't have enough power to completely turn the ship around. Next is its polar opposite, the shallow pullback. This little guy barely moves against the trend at all. And what's that a sign of? Well, it's a huge clue that the main trend is incredibly strong. There's almost no opposition. It's like the market is just so eager to keep going, it barely even stops for a coffee break. Then we have the sharp pullback. Now this one can be deep or shallow, that doesn't matter as much. Its key feature is speed. It happens fast, really fast, often within just 1 or 2 price bars on your chart. It's this sudden, aggressive countermove that can totally catch you off guard if you're not paying close attention. And finally, the flat pullback. I want you to think of this as the most extreme version of a shallow pullback you could possibly imagine. The price doesn't even really pull back. It just kind of goes sideways for a bit before taking off again. This is a massive sign of an absolutely dominant, totally one-sided trend.
Okay, so we've covered the simple patterns, but here's the thing. It is just as important to know what to avoid as it is to know what to look for. Not every pullback is a golden opportunity. In fact, some of them are just traps waiting to spring.
So the source material draws this really critical line in the sand. Simple pullbacks are obvious. They've got that clean ABCD shape that you can spot almost instantly. Complex pullbacks, on the other hand, they're just messy. They take a lot longer to form, and they often just look like the market is stuck, consolidating, just moving sideways with no clear path forward. And the author's advice here is so simple but so powerful. If you're struggling to recognize a pattern, if it isn't immediately clear, just move on. The goal isn't to be a hero and solve every single market puzzle. It's to find the easy, high-probability setups that jump right off the screen at you. This rising wedge pattern is a perfect example of why this is so important. I mean, technically, yeah, it's a pullback, but look at it. It's getting tighter, more and more indecisive. Trying to trade inside this kind of messy, unpredictable price action is a classic trap for new traders. The real money is in the simple, clear patterns.
Okay, deep breath. We've learned to spot the market's rhythm, we can identify the different kinds of pullbacks, and now we get to the core secret of this entire guide, the single most powerful idea in the whole thing. It turns out that of all the pullbacks you will ever see on a chart, one of them stands head and shoulders above the rest. The very first one. The first pullback that happens right after a market turns around and a brand new trend kicks off. This one is special. It's unique and incredibly powerful. The book's cover actually gives us the perfect way to think about this. Picture a brand new trend like a slingshot. That very first pullback, that's the initial stretch. That's the market pulling back just enough to gather energy and build up momentum before it launches forward with some serious force. And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. This isn't about trading every single little pullback you happen to see. No way. It's about being patient, waiting for the market to finally show you its hand, to signal a new direction, and then identifying that powerful first pullback. That single idea is the foundation of this whole approach. So I'll just leave you with this question. Now that you can see, and maybe even hear, the market's hidden rhythm, that constant dance of pullbacks, how are you going to look at the charts differently tomorrow? What new opportunities are going to jump out at you? It's something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.